This video presents a high-level improvement model for understanding the steps involved in making changes to products, services, processes, or organizational structures. We've adopted many of the concepts from this model from Jeff Patton's work on output versus outcomes and impact. The proposed general terms in this improvement model include scope, activities, outputs, outcomes, and impacts. Scope is a very generic term to describe and put boundaries around a desired change. This could be an idea, opportunity, or problem to solve. Scope can be defined at the vision level in the form of a high-level goal or objective. It can also be defined at the implementation level in the form of a specific solution or capability. Each remaining element of the improvement model, activities, outputs, outcomes, and impacts, can be written as statements of scope, and commonly are. Next, we have activities, the work performed to accomplish the scope, which are often communicated as phases or initiatives or tasks depending on the level. If we define our scope as the completion of an activity, the scope is considered complete when the activity is performed regardless of the result. The software delivery lifecycle mostly falls into the category of activities. Planning is an activity. Meetings fall into the category of activities. Activities are most commonly used to scope time and materials vendor contracts. Outputs are the resulting artifacts generated from the activities. Examples could include documents, reports, decisions, roadmaps, software products, and solutions. Enterprise architecture, whether defined in documents or an EA tool, is an output. Business models, architecture diagrams, data models, data governance documentation, all outputs. The automation of a manual process is also an output. Outputs are the most common method of scoping fixed-price vendor contracts, which are listed as deliverables in the contract. While we've presented the activities and outputs in a linear sequence, in practice they are typically iterative. Each activity generates an output that informs and enables the next step, creating a continuous cycle of improvement that ultimately enhances the outcome. Outcomes are the near-term results that people care about. Outcomes should ideally be measurable using trend lines over time that either improve or decline, which is a straightforward way to check if something is an output or an outcome. If it can be completed, it's most likely an activity or an output. If it gets better or worse over time, it's more likely to be an outcome or impact. Outcomes should ideally have clear traceability to the desired impacts hoped to be accomplished through the improvement of the outcomes. Impacts are outcomes defined more broadly and usually in longer term. As a result, distinguishing between outcomes and impacts can be subjective. While one term would be sufficient, we've kept two to distinguish between higher-level vision impact goals and nearer-term outcome goals. In general, outcome measures should be leading indicators, while impact measures are typically lagging and harder to use for evaluating whether activities or outputs result in an improvement. With each of these broad categories defined, we can use the improvement model to communicate our improvement ideas, categorize our proposed actions appropriately, create traceability from our scope to the corresponding desired impacts, and be clear about the feedback loops we've created or not created to evaluate whether scope ideas are improving outcomes and impacts or serving mostly to generate activity and output. We hope you find this model useful to understand and classify improvements being implemented in your organizations.